It's 12 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Would you do the roll, please?
Kathy McCoy,
Present.
Lorraine Gouget, Mark Helwig, Grant Gerber, Andy Alvarado, Mike Wohler, Tweed Schuman, Doug Rotek, Bruce Paquette, Katie Bellinger, Stephanie Thomas Schmidt, John Yackel, Elaine Smith, Marshall Savitsky, Julia Lyons.
Okay, and
You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. And can we introduce our new person from the, you want to say something about yourself or just introduce yourself? We're very happy to have you on board.
I'm Stephanie Thomas Schmidt. I'm with the Public Defender's Office. I practice here in Sawyer County and also in Washburn County. I'm stepping into the committee on a permanent basis now. And I'm looking forward. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to learning what the committee does and seeing how I can help out.
You're welcome. We're very happy to have you on board. So let's go ahead and pledge of allegiance. Oh, we have a different flag. We have a flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And do we have certification of compliance with the open meeting law?
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by Section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. The meeting agenda, does anybody see anything that they want to move around to a different place or anything that should be added?
No, but I just wanted to note, Judge Apple is in a jury trial currently and Judge Etchen should be here any minute.
Okay, wonderful, great, thank you. Okay, next section is public comments. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make a comment on anything, either online or in the audience?
I have no one online.
Audience? Okay, minutes of the previous meeting. I think everybody's had a chance to look them over. Is there any changes, corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Jail report update. We're going to get a little update on some programming, I think, or what was going on in the jail.
I'll give the jail reports here, and I brought Becky Berry with me, the programs coordinator. She's got some programming stuff that she'd like to go over with you. Our average daily population for August of 23 was at 73.2, around 21 females to 52 males. Average probation incarceration is at 18, average pre-sentence incarceration at 44, average sentence incarceration was at 11. We had currently nobody on electronic monitoring. We did have 3 at the time that were on working Hubers. We now have 2. Total population date this report was generated was 73, and our unemployment rate is floating around that 80% mark yet.
Okay. Thank you. And Becky, you've got some updates on programming? Great.
Does everybody have a packet of programs?
Mhm.
Okay, so we just made a list of the current ones that we have, and then if you want me to go through, I can go through what we have currently. We have, I just listed them in bullet points. We have Pathways Home, which is through the Northwest Workforce Investment Board. We had Matthew here some time ago, and he talked with us about what that is. I did attach a little printout for most of them. I can send something to Lynn too, so you can have links if you want. We have Making Reading Memories through UW Extension. We have Tell a Story. That one hasn't started yet. And if you notice with the attachments, those say Ashland Bayfield County because we're starting Tell a Story, but it hasn't started yet. So the printouts are what we're using to start. On the job training we have through Northwest SEP. Sawyer County Literacy is Deb Hellquist. GED, HSED, that's a typo. That's through Northwood Technical College. There is a brochure attachment for that. For Andy, Lieutenant and I just met with BJ Williams through Northwood Tech, and they have a proposal. They also have a grant source, and we have to meet with him again, but he proposed multiple courses for interpreting industrial prints, print reading, and geometric dimension tolerances. I just did a blurb about what he sent us. There's a couple of different options. And then he said that the best luck that they had was doing blocks and doing that twice a week. So that sounds like what we'd like to go with. But again, we have to meet with him. And then we just recently met with UW Extension on some possibilities for culinary classes, which we had previously, and that was through the Northwest Workforce Investment Board. But we can do grant funding through UW Extension. They also do financial literacy, ag or gardening classes, which would be really cool if we could do that. They do options for voting. They did tell us that they can pretty much write grants for classes if we can come up with ideas. So our options are kind of endless. So I did write that if people have ideas, we can write our own grants. That's not a guarantee that we'll get it, but if anybody has any ideas, I suggest you send them to us and we can pursue them. But so that's what we have right now. And then we have Bible studies. We currently have 10 volunteers that come in for Bible studies. We have AA, 6 volunteers, and we have 3 volunteers for NA. I have a meeting on the 21st with Caitlin Miller for transitional job programming. Does anybody have any questions?
No, this is very good. This is what we wanted to see. I think when Matt was here from Pathways Home, that was like a really underutilized program at that point, wasn't it?
Well, the problem is it's utilized well in the jail. The problem is the follow through. So he has a hard time staying in contact when they leave. He has been trying, and he has a grant that enables him to provide phones. So he leaves inmates' phones sometimes when they release. But I think that staying in contact with them when they release is difficult.
Yeah, I just remember that it seemed like there was money that was being left on the table that he wasn't able to use. He was really looking and trying to use up the grant money he had.
Yeah, it's that follow through.
Kathy? I just was thinking maybe if you could get a release, a jail release report, and then maybe he could be there as they're being released, speak to him for a little bit, and then, give him those phones.
He leaves them phones. And he cleared that with Lieutenant. And he's able to provide that through his funding. But, again, you can't force them to stay in touch with him.
And that probably gets back to some of housing, where they're going, right? That there's,
Right.
you can have a job or whatever, but if you don't have a place to live, you don't have a job probably for very long.
Right.
Things fall apart. So. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? I mean, this is good, and I'm so glad with UW Extension that there's opportunities to do all kinds of different things, it sounds like.
Well, we're able to start ramping it up for a while. It kind of went on the back burner, but it's getting better.
And like with UW Extension, will they come and do the programs, or they would try to write a grant and then have somebody?
Well, it depends on how the grant is written. So a lot of what we're able to do right now, Michelle Briggs is our pretrial specialist, and she's able to be there for a lot of it. But it depends on how the grant is written.
Does anyone else have any questions? I think the reading of blueprints and that is really critical because
I'm really excited about those ones.
Right, those are the skills people need to get jobs that pay decent, right?
Right.
And so that would be big, really big.
hmm
Okay, if nobody else has any questions. All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
The 2024 budget. Do we have a copy of the 2024 budget for the criminal justice?
Don't.
That was the campaign, that was for the opioid money, right? We have not seen a budget. I mean, this committee has not seen a budget yet, right? Are the preliminary budget packets done?
Not to the usual budgets, tomorrow, finance committee, like preliminary, well, budget projection.
Okay.
We're still keeping
Okay, so when will that be available?
we'll probably have to do this before that fund, if we want to.
Okay, and that'll be online then, so we can look at it, everybody can look at it?
Should be.
Okay.
Has to be published in the paper.
Right, and that's just a summary though, so if you want to look at the detail,
Then, but when we have the summary put together.
right, and that should be online, so, okay. All right, can we put this on for next month again, just so that we can actually see what is budgeted and for expenses and for revenues? Thank you. Justice Point numbers as of September 5th. Sure, Becky, you're always on top of things.
I did send them to them,
So as of today, our total is 134 for pretrial. We have 32 on court reminders only, 13 on diversion, 8 referrals pending for diversion, 7 total diversion completed in 2023. We have 6 pending diversion failed, 13 on our wait list, 10 of which are incarcerated, and we have 10 intakes pending and 9 of those are incarcerated.
Could you tell me what it means by they failed diversion?
That means they had a diversion case with a case plan, and according to their case plan, they did not follow through. So they, as part of their diversion agreement, they plead guilty on the front end, And if they, um, if they, if they, violate while they're on that, they've already pled guilty. So they don't get their charges dismissed. They've already pled guilty. So it's not a successful completion of that.
Thank you.
If they complete that successfully at the end of that, their charges get dismissed.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's,
So is there usually like, are people told, okay, if you stay clean for 6 months, then the charges go away, or if you stay clean for a
It's not
year?
just about staying clean. You also can't commit another crime during that time.
Right, exactly. Is there a
So-
certain time?
And you have to stay in contact with your case manager. And so some of those people just fall off the grid and they don't stay in contact with their case manager. Or they go to another county and commit a crime.
So is there a certain time period though? That
Yes.
They have like it's 1 year or 6 months or?
Yep. Typically a diversion case is 6 to 9 months. And a case manager can request an extension during that time if that person is struggling or needs more time to complete.
And as far as staffing levels, are you comfortable where you're at this point?
We're
or-
good right now. We have our 5 people, but with the law enforcement deflection grant, we will get 3.5 more positions, and those are certified peer support specialist positions. And I did send out the law enforcement deflection grant, so those positions are outlined in there. And then because we didn't request more funding we don't intend to request more funding, but we did submit the pre-application for TAD. Our staffing levels will stay the same in 2024.
And you feel comfortable that you have enough staff to
I think that
continue?
we should keep our footing right now and stay where we're at. I think that we have the numbers to support more, but I just think that we've just continued to grow and grow and grow. And I think it's a good idea if we just stay where we're at right now.
Just take a little pause and kind of,
Yes.
does anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you very much. Health and Human Service report update.
Joyce is here, so she'll give part of the update. I'll let her go first.
Hello. As you probably know, the county board approved $127,650 of opioid settlement funds to be applied towards our substance misuse initiative, including the fentanyl awareness. So far to date, more than 800 people have received our presentation and attended. We have billboards up. We've distributed more than 200 road signs. We have distributed 144 boxes of Narcan, and we have 81 people on a waiting list for Narcan because we ran out. We should be getting more today, I believe. More than 300 people have been trained with Narcan. On October 5th, we have a public presentation for fentanyl awareness at 6:30 at St. Joseph Church. And on the 29th, we are giving a short informational session to the town association meeting to try to get the townships involved. This Friday, as long as it's not pouring rain, we will be at the Hayward football game also with a fentanyl booth. We have activated the Medical Reserve Corps. 14 people are signed up for training. 4 have already completed it so that they can then man or staff booths and events. We're still attending the coalition meetings with LCO and also attending the housing work group meetings. There's actually a public presentation of the housing needs in Sawyer County on October 1st at 2:30 in the afternoon at Northern Lights, and the public is also invited to that. Any questions?
In terms of length of this campaign that the money was allocated for, what is the time frame? Is this, we're gonna do this for 6 months, or the push is gonna be for 3 months? We're gonna, what is the time frame?
Each item is different. So the billboards will be, most of the billboards will be up for a year. And our main push is going to be for the awareness. The next step will be action. Think of something almost like small talks that they do currently on the radio for alcohol. And we're really going to be focusing on how to talk to your kids, how to talk to your children or your family members about substance misuse, along with the whole fentanyl issue. So, yeah, it's about a year. We planned out budget-wise for about a year.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions relative to this?
Okay.
Thanks. Do you have anything else?
Just with our YJ program, Shannon Kraus is now on board full-time and is completing her training. So that will help with the program. And then Sarah and I, well, actually, they both did training for the Sheriff's Department on August 29th and the 31st. And then we'll also be looking at trainings later this fall for the court system with the new judge and everything, that we're all on the same page with what we can do with YJ programming. And then Sarah and I are also looking at potential grants for diversion program for truancy and THC. So moving forward in those.
Any questions? I have one other question I forgot back under the jail. Do we have any mental health counseling going on? I'm not gonna let it go, sorry.
No,
I'm just gonna bug it every.
ACH has been filling in the last couple weeks now. They've got a gentleman coming from down around the Menominee area, who I believe is providing 6 to 8 hours a week. But that's currently what we have in place. So,
And I should have mentioned that I am going to be working with Vilas County to look at how they're working with their HHS and the jail together. It sounds like they have a good program over there. Maybe we'll do a field trip.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you were asking specific to this reason, but I think the sheriff and Mike might have shared this with the public safety, but I mean, ACH has been not been providing the contractual mental health we're supposed to be getting. But do you just want to share what you shared at public safety about the incident last week?
That was my concern, because I knew that they weren't fulfilling the
Yeah,
contract, and I
right.
knew we
I
had
mean-
nothing going on, and we've been trying to plug that hole. I mean, it's Judge Isham, right? Yeah, go ahead. We can pause a minute, and maybe we should go around and introduce ourselves, because we do have a couple of new people. We probably should have done that earlier, so. Lynn, you want to start?
Judge Monica Isham, but that's fine.
Oh, yeah, I'll never use that.
Andy Alvarado.
Kathy McCoy.
Judge Elaine Smith, LCO.
Mark, I was board supervisors. Marshall Smith, board supervisor.
Sheriff Doug Marotek.
Thank you. Okay, so we were back talking about,
Talked
yeah.
about last week. I think it's good to share this to me.
Last week, we had an incident in the jail regarding one of our jailers, confrontational situation that happened in the vestibule. He was escorting the individual to the nurse and was sucker punched in the vestibule, the hallway, in the jail facility there. Took the jailer down and basically jumped right on top of the jailer and just started wailing on him. And he was transported to the hospital, and fortunately he's in recovery and back to work on light duty. It's going to be a bit before he's on full duty, but definitely suffered some injuries. So those things happen fast. And as I presented in the May 17th full board meeting, talking about reaction versus action, if you watch that video, it's probably one of the best examples on how when you are mentally prepared to do something and the other person is not, you are totally disadvantaged.
So as far as the contract goes, so the company we have is not fulfilling their contract. Okay, and we have no mental health counseling basically going on. So what's happening with the contract?
Well, at this point, yeah, my communication. Kind of explain your emails and then we talk.
ACH had an individual hired that departed or parted ways, I believe was back in May-ish or so. And they've been trying to fill the gap with, they've been accommodating towards telehealth, obviously, but we're not getting, I guess, the same output that we would want versus an individual that is there to talk to somebody face to face. You know, we've seen increase in fights in the jail since this. We've seen probably in all the years I've been working in the jail, probably one of the more severe beatings from an inmate to one of our staff that I've ever seen. It's unfortunate. ACH now has an individual on board. They have him driving from somewhere mid-state here once a week. So I kind of wonder just how long that's going to last. I'm going to take full advantage of it while we can. Our inmates prefer talking to individuals versus sitting down talking to a TV monitor. They really don't get anything out of that. So, yeah, we're kind of tied as the, you know, at time being here. So
that's part of what Julie was mentioning is we've had some internal conversations for a few months and are, you know, maybe focusing in more now that having a contracted mental health provider maybe isn't the best. And, you know, we're looking at the alternatives and something more local or something more direct than working through ACH, or even, I mean, we don't have necessarily the mental health capacity and currently in-house in our human services that we could have, but is there a way to bring that in and have them do services in the jail and then services for human services? I think that's why she's talking about Vilas County. There are other counties that have models we can look at, but, you know, taking more internal ownership of that issue. And I understand like some of these, we had a couple of inmates that were difficult, right? Last month, damage to cells.
yeah, there's been quite a bit of damage to county property, to the smearing of feces. I mean, we really have our hands full with a couple inmates over there right now, and a real lack of mental health to meet with those individuals. And our staff is strapped. I mean, there isn't a jail academy that teaches you how to deal with those types of individuals.
And I'm not just necessarily chalking everything up to mental health. Sometimes it's just poor behavior.
But absolutely, yep, I agree.
So doing that, but I also would say that some of these inmates might be out of county individuals who we don't know, but a fair number of them are people that we already have contact with in other areas of the county, and try to have some continuity with other services. So I think that's where we're talking about heading, hoping to do that.
Yeah, because this has been kicked around for a long, long time, the need to actually hire a full-time person to do mental health services in the jail. I mean, I think you've expressed that there's definitely the need there. That person would be busy. It wouldn't be like they would be sitting around with nobody wanting to take advantage of those services. Is anybody talking about that in the county budget at all? In your budget with the jail or anywhere else?
It has not been brought up yet. Probably won't be this year. I think we're getting past the cycle here as well. I mean, when we had the 8 hours, things were flowing pretty good. It's when we lost the 8 hours and had nothing. And some of that's a peak and valley. There's times where they were there less than 8 hours, and there's times we needed them more than 8 hours. But I think realistically, I don't know if we really need somebody 8 hours, but it's sure something that I think would be lucrative if we had a full-time position and they were able to spread those services in another area as well.
And
That's the part we're looking at, because there's already money budgeted in the jail budget for mental health. And then in human services, we have a mental health clinic, and we have other programs like CCS that could use a therapist where we can bill out those hours.
So, and you provide stuff.
Okay, all right. IT is very familiar with me already. So my question, I guess, is when there's an inmate in the jail, and I just don't know, so maybe everybody knows the answer, but do they have to request mental health assistance, or is that like something that they're referred to? Is that something that you recognize based off of maybe a medications list? What is the process or the procedure for handling?
It's actually all the above. Our inmates are issued texting devices that they can file grievances, mental health issues, concerns. Our staff can do referrals on their own, which we've been doing more and more of. It's sometimes done at screening, so it's actually all the above.
Okay. And with kind of all of the above happening, do you feel like it's like, let's say if inmates are requesting more often, do you think that their requests are being met, or is it situations where they're requesting and not getting somebody to address them?
I think there's a shortfall. I don't think their requests are being met. It's because, when we do get somebody here, they're here for only a certain amount of hours. I mean, 1 or 2 inmates could tie up literally probably 4 to 5 hours of the mental health professional on any given day. So I don't know if it's like a shortage of time, but then as the sheriff also said, there's days where, we don't need more than an hour or 2. So it's really, highs and lows at times. So.
Okay.
I think it has a lot to do with also how that mental health professional connects with the people.
I was gonna
That's
say,
a
you had
huge
something
part of it.
really good in there. You had people lined up basically
Okay.
who wanted that service,
Yeah.
and we weren't providing it. We couldn't provide enough service, right? And
Correct. Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest things is there's just not the mental health people out there for us to
That's
hire,
correct.
really.
Mhm.
That's the
that's
biggest
a
problem.
problem, but that's like saying, we're not going to put up a stop sign.
Right, I'm not
People aren't
saying
gonna
it's-
stop at it. I mean,
I'm not saying it's an excuse.
Right.
I'm just
I
making that
understand.
point that
But I
there's
do think
just
that
so
we
few.
really need to move in the direction, and I think that this committee, I hear it from everybody in this committee that we need mental health counseling in the jail, and so I think to not be looking at putting that position in a budget, whether it's a split position or whatever, or even a full-time position, not to even put it there or address it or try to do something about it. It sounds like you're kind of but I don't want to say it's a bandage, but it's like.
And as the other piece with funding too, is we did really kind of set aside and say for mental health in the jail with opioid settlement dollars too. So there are avenues to move forward despite it. If it's not in the budget, it would be just that approval for hiring. So
has anybody explored the possibility of a position being created, a mental health counselor position or whatever, in connection with funding from some of the LCO or opioid money and in connection with some of the Sawyer County opioid money? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I was just saying, has anybody explored the opportunity or looked at the possibility of using working with LCO with some of their opioid settlement money and the county and some of our opioid settlement money, and to put together a position, a mental health counseling position that would serve, in the jail, right?
we have not yet, but I know we've been asked or tasked with going to tribal governing board to present. And so that's on the docket to do, and that might be the opportunity to have that discussion.
I think it would be great because they have a substantial amount of money and the county has, and to do a joint partnership to come up with a funding to create some type of position, I think. I know you're into the budget already, but I don't think it's too late to tweak things in that budget still.
And kind of going off of your idea of like a split kind of job, which, has been brought up a couple of times. I don't know specifically funding sources, but some of them have restrictions. But if an AODA counselor / mental health counselor, something like that, that would probably fit in any sort of restriction for AODA, and opioid money.
It will fit the opioid.
It would. So I think maybe that is, and that probably addresses concerns of like 90% of the inmate population, mental health and addiction issues.
So yeah, I just keep that in mind. I think the committee definitely feels, if anybody doesn't feel the need or feels differently, please express yourself. But I think this has been an ongoing thing that we've been talking about. And it seems like it's becoming more of a problem for your department too. And you guys are the ones that are left holding the ball without the service, right? So. Okay. Anybody else have anything on that topic?
Did you bring up that idea with Tweet already?
No, I have not. I have not seen Tweet actually.
No.
I left a note for him today,
Did you?
but I think he had a conflict with boys and girls.
Okay. And we also need to get Lorraine replaced too.
I told him that.
Yeah, because they haven't done that.
I'll remind
yet,
him.
so.
Yeah, we need them replaced for HHS too. Her
I did
replaced.
send an email to Tweet asking for Lorraine's replacement, so I haven't heard back yet.
All right. Thank you. Community service update. Grant, you got some good news for us?
Just that we got a couple of new residents over there, and then they actually all got sick at the house, so I haven't been over there lately to get any new updates. But it seems things are going well. We're getting people from the community to come in and take some time to help show the guys in the workshop and stuff like that, to help train with the trade skills and everything along those lines. Things are just kind of starting to roll a little smoother with the 2 mics that have graduated from the program helping the guys. It's nice when someone there has gone through the same issues and stuff like that, so they're making progress. I actually missed the homeless task force meeting the other day. I don't know if Mark was there or not, but it looks like there's October 1st meeting, an informational meeting to the public at Northern Lights that will be held to kind of tell them what the task force is going, or what the safer place warming houses are looking for, and what they will do for the community to kind of help ease some of the homelessness in the community and things like that. But things rolling in the right direction, looking for some grants over there. It looks like there's a couple of possibilities of some good funding. And obviously the biggest issue is where we're actually going to have the housing and stuff like that. The building next door to House of Hope isn't available. A little too expensive for what we're going for. But then again, when you're looking for something for help or homeless, you don't want it out of town either. You don't want them coming into town and have to bus them out of town. So there are a couple of places that they're looking into and some questions, but everything's at least going in the right direction in those places.
Sounds good.
I have a question. Do you have any tribal members trying to get to the House of Hope, asking about entry?
I'm not sure. I know we've had tribal members in there and stuff, or in people looking. I'm not sure if, I think one of the guys in there right now is actually a tribal member. He just got in. I just got back into town, so I haven't been over there yet. But
I was just wondering if, people from the reservation were reaching out.
I know they have. I know we've talked with them. I don't know recently if there's any applications. I know there's more they're going through. And there's one of the guys that graduated, I know lives out on the reservation. I don't believe he's actually, his wife is a tribal member, but he's not.
Thanks.
Can I ask, you mentioned, and I'm sorry, I'm new, so I know nothing. So I'm going to ask a lot of very annoying questions. So you'd mentioned writing for grants. Do you have a grant writer?
That's part of what I was just going through, all their meeting notes from the task force. Looks like they are Wes Wilson.
Okay.
And he's going through some grant. He directed them towards some websites and stuff like that. So I don't believe we actually have a grant writer yet. And it says that there's a couple of an Otto Bremer grant, and it's for about 20 to 30,000, which is a foundational grant and stuff like that. So they have people that they're communicating with, but I don't think we actually have a set grant writer for us yet.
So is far, oh, I'm sorry, sure. What were you?
I was just gonna say, and I attended the meeting, Joyce did also, and Pastor Thompson's very active with that, and he has pursued a lot of grants upon himself and has reached out to get assistance with grant writers as well. So on the grant side of things,
Mhm.
it is pursued pretty heavily.
Good. And that's kind of, my question and my experience. I mean, the tribe has a grants department. It services every entity of the tribe. And essentially, while some of the entities would have people who are more, specialized in writing for grants, if you want a grant for your program, you kind of go to that grants department, they start looking, you give them kind of the idea of what you're looking for. What does the county have that mirrors that or matches that, or doesn't the county?
No. Yeah, we're
Unfortunately, the
Yes,
county,
we
that's
piecemeal
been
it
kicked
together.
around a lot for a long time. It was, or at least years ago when I was on the county board, it was kicked around a lot. The need to have a grant writer for the county, right? And
Yeah.
teaching.
it's a shortfall. The count.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I mean, this group itself is made up of representatives of multiple different entities, and if you have a similar interest, even to just have somebody out searching for grants that are available would be hugely beneficial. I mean, you can kind of contract out to try to find a grant writer, but just to have the person who's out seeking, out looking for grants that match your interests, I think is a huge benefit. And to Judge Smith's question about whether or not there's tribal members in your programs, sometimes just that alone makes the tribal grants department available to also assist in those situations that are serving tribal members. So I just wouldn't want a resource to be untapped.
I know our grants department is pretty overloaded.
Oh, I'm sure.
Given more work than they're on.
I'm sure, but they're phenomenal, and they bring in
lots
of money. And I think, I mean, anybody who is good at searching for grants, writing grants, that, it has a similar focus with the rest of the people in this room, maybe we can all pool our resources and help that person. And
well, and I think, Katie, you have reached out, or you have been working with Mike a little bit too, right? Because they have money in probation to actually house people if we had a shelter, right? And so we have a revenue source, which is really nice, that would tie in already, I think, for 2 people, isn't it, Kate?
So Stephanie, no, the program specialist, she's actually been coming tonight. Because she is the position for the department that actually handles the exchange of funds. I don't do that. And our budget has been kind of placed on hold right now. So I'm not exactly sure where those conversations have been, but yes, typically we do have an allotment of funds that we can use for either emergency housing or TLP, which is transitional living. There is a budget in place for that we can use.
It was a kind of nice connection that came about just by people being at the same table here, right? That we discovered these things. So it's, it's really nice when everybody comes and participates, because it does open up avenues, I think. So
yeah.
Okay. Do you have any update on the shelters at SCO?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm not, I'm not in touch with anybody who works there.
I guess that would be something maybe, well, I should finish up. Okay. Anything more on community service updates? Future agenda items? That might be something that would be of interest if we could have somebody who is associated with the shelters. Because you have LCO as a women and a men's shelter and a family shelter. If they would be willing to come and just give us a little overview of how maybe we could help them, or we could fit in with them, or, just to kind of have some collaboration there? Is that possible that we could put that on an agenda?
I could ask, I'll have to ask TGB what the situation is, because I hear different things and I just want to find out what the status is.
I think they're at various stages of kind of operation, so.
If you could do that, and then if possible, it would be just kind of a nice tie-in, just like we're getting from other community programs. It's just nice to know what's out there total.
I agree.
I'm sorry, I have a really hard time
Oh.
hearing both of you, so I'm not sure how to summarize what you would like.
Okay, all we're doing is saying for future that look at having a representative from LCO from the shelters to come and give just an overview of how we can maybe assist them, how they can assist us, you know, that type of thing. Judge Smith said that she would check and see if there was a contact or whatever, and if they had the time or the ability to come and do that. So that would be a future agenda item pending, you know, whether or not they have time or when they could possibly do that, or who's, I know they have different directors, different shelters, that type of thing, right? So, okay. Anything else, future agenda items? We have the budget, right? We're gonna get copies of that next month. Anyone else, anything they'd like to see on the agenda? Marshall, it's good to see you in person. Okay, correspondence, has anybody been at anything via reporting? Nope. Okay, with that, then we are adjourned. Oh, we should set next meeting date. October 18th at noon. Does this seem to work for most people?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Good. Good. I'm glad. That's good to hear. Okay, we're adjourned then. Thank you.